It's not just, somebody asked me, well, where's Jericho? Like as though it was someplace here. It's actually a place in our history and in our hearts. So in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. What I want you to know is the people that are standing behind me are
We want to remind the audience to please not talk out loud. Please do not applaud. You're just wasting time.
Aye, aye, Admiral Butthead.
So don't mess with me.
I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
I pray for the president all the time.
Ugh, back to the lock with you, Nessie.
I've now been in 57 states.
He's what we designate as the crummy moronic type.
You didn't crawl out from under no rocks. You didn't have no tails. We didn't come from monkeys, you atheistic pinko meathead.
Donald Trump no longer has the capacity to break my heart.
I'm not pissed. You've seen me pissed. This is way, way beyond pissed.
Now it's a party!
Don't try to be funny, will you, meathead?
Welcome, everybody. And Brother John is once again in the Northern Command.
Namiset.
Namiset, yes, Namiset.
Fight like a Baldini.
Fight like a Baldini.
Fight like a Baldini.
He decided
We'll
to
take
do a
those
little.
twins. I don't know, there's a lot of them, right?
A little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of us.
Yeah,
Though,
there's a lot of us. We get boys.
Plus, we got the 9 from your tribe.
Right.
Don't forget that.
Fight like a, we love that guy. Though,
Yeah. So we had to start off with prayer. Of course, we believe in God at Ballistic Patriot, unlike the Marxist left. We believe in God.
Yeah.
So
we're actually gonna have an essay on that.
We will.
A little bit later.
Okay. I'm all for that. Let's definitely talk about that. Of course, that was from the Jericho rally down in Washington, D.C. and more of the stop the skullduggery, since we can't use any reference or try to say that there's something wrong with that thing that happened on November 3rd last month.
You mean the Russian interference?
The Russian interference, yeah.
Right. We're just looking for the Russian interference.
Just still looking for
in elections. That's all. We're just looking for the Russians.
Yeah, so we're pretty. We can't use those certain key phrases otherwise, but code phrases are now in effect. I'll use skullduggery, and my brother will use
Russian interference.
There you go. So when you hear that,
Russia,
you know
Russia.
You know what we're talking about.
Russia.
All right, so let's start off. Let's switch scenes here. We'll start off with a fun time. Well, with our president. This is soon after the Supreme Court. By the way, I mean they really screwed themselves.
Wait, are you going to get to that?
I'm not going to get to it, but I just wanted to say it. President, after hearing the news that the Supreme Court decided to show their cowardly behavior, which, by the way, we predicted. We predicted that.
Can't live in an oligarchy.
They have after he heard that, he said, "We have just begun to fight," reminiscent of Churchill. Yeah.
Is this on the screen? Because I can't see anything.
That's on the screen. That's on the screen.
Oops.
Yeah. Oops.
Okay.
So we have that as our kickoff to today's stuff. I do want to say that we are going to be talking about. I'm going to give an update. Then my brother is going to do something on the skullduggery from the the Russian interference. Russian interference. Then I'm going to talk about the country that's like the coffee cup, China. And then you're going to finish this out, brother?
Well, we have the American suicide essay.
Oh, the essay, the homework, or the homework that you need to be prepared for. All right, so let's. I think the first thing I want to talk about. Let's
dead air.
Dead air. No dead air. So I do want to start off by going over here to So there are now 3 major candidates in the race running for governor in the state of New Jersey. Because after Georgia, we're going to have a whole year of campaigning for the state of New Jersey. I know everyone thinks that New Jersey is a blue state. There is, however, good evidence to prove that lockdown Phil is going to have a tough run of it. There's some evidence, growing evidence. And one of the things that has been showing up in the campaign is, where are these candidates, at least in the primary, where are they standing with President Trump? Now, all three of them have said that they support President Trump. I'm not going to go into their backstory during the primary. I don't see a point in going through that, but I will say, they've all said it, and we have showcased so far two of them, Her Singh and Jack Ciattarelli. So one of the things that we need to do is we also should showcase the third candidate, Doug Steinhardt, who is in this video from Facebook, which we're going to play this. This is his launch. And before I go any further, I want to point out that here at the Ballistic Patriot, we haven't picked anybody for a candidate. I honestly have no idea. I'm the only one of the two of us who can vote in it. So, and honestly, I don't know.
Whoa. The Russians can always vote.
You're right.
In 2020. We can vote. The Russians can vote more than once, apparently. Hundreds of thousands of times.
Yes, but so we want to make
count me out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I do want to make sure that that you understand that we're not picking sides, and that we invite all three candidates to come and have an interview with my brother here, the lawyer, and
you, the journalist,
and me, the journalist, yes, and also to do a debate. So we right now are offering our services as a platform, since we can't trust the mainstream media to do anything but create toilet paper. We have to come up with the idea that we need to provide alternative sources for our candidates.
Big corporate media. I think that's what we should call them.
They are the big corporate media. We're not. But we will gladly help and support all the candidates to get their voice heard and be heard, because that has always been our mission. When we were the Sussex County Patriot, and now we are, before that, when we were the NJ Standard, and now we're the Ballistic Patriot, we will always try and help to get the candidates' message out. So, having said that, here's Doug Steinhardt's kickoff.
Every slick politician who does one of these videos does it the same way. Remember Phil Murphy's video from 4 years ago? What's he been up to since? Well, instead of Murphy making tough spending cuts to get our state back on track, we are the ones forced to make tough choices. Like, how do we pay our mortgage, or put our kids through college, or pay for the medicines we need? We've all been paying the price ever since Phil Murphy rolled out his fancy video 4 years ago. Well, this isn't one of those typical videos, because I'm not a politician at all. I'm Doug Steinhardt. I'm a conservative Republican and a proud one. I'm pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, and a lifetime NRA member. I even taught my state champion son how to shoot. I've worked with conservative activists all across our state. We've built a Republican movement from the ground up. And let me be really clear about this. I support President Trump. I always have. Some cut and run from our president during tough times, hoping you wouldn't notice, while others were never there in the first place. That's not the kind of guy I am. You'll always know where I stand. I grew up on the same Northwest New Jersey farm where my parents still live. Most weeks I start my days there with my dad, and we still have Sunday dinners together in the same farmhouse where I was raised. If I look and sound different from the same Trenton insider politicians who run for governor, it's because I am different. I built a law practice around the corner from my house. For 15 years, I served as mayor of my hometown. Why? Because I love it here. That's the closest I've come to the Trenton Swamp. Face it, New Jersey is in a bad spot because politicians avoided making tough decisions. These politicians are all part of the same club, and they did the easy thing for them. We have a lot of work to do together to change that. Most importantly, I'll take power away from Trenton's politicians and give it back to you. We only elect our governor every 4 years, so who we pick matters. It's going to take an outsider who isn't afraid to bring real change to Trenton. I know, the Trenton insiders won't like me. The public sector unions will hate me. But I've got to tell you, that doesn't scare me. I won't be working for them. I'm Doug Steinhardt, and I'll be working for you.
So that's Doug's message. He's the Warren County chairman, Republican chairman, and he's stepping down from the state chairman position that he's had. So far, the race has already had a couple of endorsements from some county chairmen for Jack Citarelli, and just a little background to give fair notice. We have Jack Citarelli, who's a CPA, a former CPA, also a former assemblyman, and we have Chris Singh is also a lawyer, and Doug here is his firm has a part of the firm, Jim Florio, part of his former guy. So I mean, I actually I don't know if that's positive or negative, but that's information that we can report on. So there's that. I also part of the that's all I have for the governor's race right now. I'll be gladly seeking anybody who wants to come on the show. We'll do a special show. We'll figure it out, the details on that. But I want to move on now to Alan West. Recently, you want me to hold off on this?
No.
One? Alan West.
You're good to roll anyway. Go ahead.
I will. So Alan West here is getting handed. People are saying that he's called for a secession movement because of what happened with the Supreme Court. So I don't know if you can read down what he said there, John, because I'm having problems with the camera stand. But the High Court said that it was moot, and they could not. We'll get into. I'll let you talk about what that means. But what was his response to that? He said the court's decision means that the states can violate the U.S. Constitution and not be held accountable, and the decision will have a far-reaching ramification for the future of our constitutional republic. Now, I mean, I've tried to search more for this article to see where it says that he's calling for a secession movement. I don't know. Did you see anything that says secession?
Well, I know Rush had mentioned it. Why were you living with these people? And I think he said that we should have a couple of states get together, people. That's not necessarily meaning it's secession.
Yeah, here you go. Perhaps law-abiding states should bond together and form a union of states that will abide by the Constitution. That is not the same as secession. Oh, but there's 17 of them that already did bond together in the Supreme Court case. And there's 20 on the other side that bonded together on the opposite side of the case.
We actually have a book coming out soon of describing how that's not going to be enough anyway, because
it's going to be moved.
Like Missouri, it'll be moved because places like you could take the reddest place in the world in America, the center of America.
That's right.
And it still has at its heart an evil,
a cancer.
That's
Utopia.
Yep. That's created the McCloskeys, where you have the same incident. You have an out of control prosecutor prosecuting the McCloskeys for just defending their property. So
every
can't run from
state
it.
in the union just about has one.
And so you can't run from it. So if we did bond together, it wouldn't help anyone.
Even little old New Jersey has two.
And why should we leave?
Why should we leave? Exactly.
They got to get the hell out.
Why should we abandon our state?
It's my country.
We have roots. We have roots here.
It's our country.
That's right. It's our neighborhoods. It's our towns. It's our counties.
Right.
Why should we give up?
If I had a button, I'd be playing Braveheart right now.
All right.
I'm in a corner.
Right.
Put me in a corner.
All right. Yeah, but you got Justice League behind you, brother.
I hate the Justice League.
Movie wasn't that great, but they're a good team. They're a good team. So was I saving
Am I going on the election now?
I didn't talk about the stop the skullduggery. Should I wait on that?
Go ahead.
Then you pass over to you, because the skullduggery, stop the skullduggery leads into your stuff. So this is Ali Alexander. We'll let him talk.
Alongside my values, and I'm always trying to get out. But some fight sucks me back in. And so Stop the Steal has sucked me back in, and I intend to remake this party for good because it's a total waste.
So tell me a little bit about this dynamic. You were basically saying that by activating the grassroots, through these different organizations in these states, you help embolden politicians that might not necessarily feel emboldened.
Yeah.
But how does that work exactly? For starters, are there a lot of people who do, like you, perhaps see there was a big issue, but aren't going to say anything? and then the grassroots motivate? Like, how does that whole dynamic work? Explain it to me.
So the first rule in politics and on campaigns is do no harm. And so you don't want to do anything where you don't build a new constituency or you raise money, period. There's no, and when you think about it, that's actually how politics should work. A lot of people in the grassroots, they bemoan popularity. And I'm like, well, if we live in a republic, we should want to do things that are popular. And the type of basically occult magic that occurs with media and mainstream media, corporate media, is that the media purports to the politician that something's popular that's not, to get them to influence policy, which then the public goes along with, believing that it too is popular. And so these very fringe, very anti-American values and policies are by hook or by crook. So on the gun issue, you'll see it created through, when they can't get through the politicians to rig the public into believing it's popular, they'll have groups like Moms Demand, and then they'll use that against the politician. And so there is an evil order of people who understand that if the people don't, in the hive mind, believe something, then you need to lobby them through their politicians or their media, and then pin those against each other until they agree. And like I said, this is black magic to me. So for me, using kind of that same occult knowledge, not in a negative context, but secret knowledge, is that politicians are reactive to the public. So we just need to verbalize our demands. If we don't have the media as a distribution channel, then we need to take to the streets. It's actually just that simple. But it's also that complicated and that difficult, because what do you see? You saw Twitter originally banned our link, stopthesteal.us. So, it had this giant gateway where you have to click continue, but you don't really know the continue button there. And I used my relationships with Twitter to get that reversed. If you go on Instagram or Facebook, you still cannot search the hashtag stopthesteal. MailChimp kicked us off. Eventbrite kicked us off. They're trying to eliminate our ability to petition our government. And in doing so, they are emboldening our activists with knowing that we are walking in the truth. We are walking in the light. We are walking and standing against a darkness that if this is the system, 1776 wouldn't have occurred. But not just 1776, the Civil Rights Movement wouldn't have occurred. And so we are in a power struggle right now, and bodies in the streets demonstrate popularity. If Donald Trump, let's say you only believe that Donald Trump got 74 million votes, that's a lot of votes. That's more votes than Barack Obama. That's more votes than Hillary. That's more votes than Donald Trump had the first time. That's a lot of people. I happen to believe that Donald Trump probably had closer to 80 million, but I understand that that's speculative. 74 million is a lot of people. And putting hundreds of bodies in the streets and knowing that each one of those people represents 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, that's what the American oligarchs fear. And I think that's why Stop the Steal has been met with hit pieces and smears, but we've survived all of it. And we're going to continue to thrive, actually, in all.
So that's well, I'll cut that off.
That guy's great, but I'm really happy that David Davis Jr.'s kid is on our side. He is awesome. Yeah. David Davis is a handsome man, and his kid is a handsome guy too.
Yeah. I think his name is Ali Alexander.
All right, well, that could be.
And I think Sammy has something with one of his eyes too, dude.
But Frankie brought him back on that. I mean, Frankie took care of him on that. That's why we love, Sammy. I'm not saying that as an insult at all. We love Sammy.
He's one of the pack.
He's one of the pack. But he's brilliant too, and I love the way he's used the word American oligarchy. Yeah. Because for us, we have to comply with YouTube or directives from the tyrants, and that requires we're not allowed to use the F word, and that's you can see that going on. So some of the things we're predicting is going to go on is the new chant is going to be fight for Trump, and the new rallies, the new Tea Party is going to be this the Jericho rallies, right? Mm-hmm. And they're going to take down the Congress in 2022.
They're still going to have to answer the whole thing about the voting system.
Right. Well, we're getting there, and we're going to do this American oligarchy because because so we're gonna refer to it the 2020 election looking for the Russian interference. All right, I'm using my air quotes for the Russian.
Seeking the Russian influence.
So it was a tough week for the President Trump's campaign.
It's your turn now,
against
right?
against the Russians. Yes.
Hold on 1 second, so I can switch scenes here, so we can have the proper scene here. Now you go ahead.
I don't see what the scene is.
I see it. So, and everyone out there who's watching it can see it.
All right. So Arizona case was dismissed by the Arizona Supreme Court. I think it's indicative of the very valiant Kelly Ward against the contemptible Russian agent Katie Hobbs. You know, and in this was the one where they apparently have a number of duplicate ballots where somebody redoes a ballot, it gets jammed in the machine, or gets somehow damaged, and somebody else redoes it. And the valiant Kelly Ward had fought through the court system to first get a hold of 100 ballots, and noticed there was a three vote change in that 100 ballot, meaning that somebody wrote in a double vote to knock out one of Trump's. Somebody wrote in a Biden for Trump out of that 100 ballots. Some Russian did that, and as the Russians did that, she got power to get more discovery for 1,526 votes. But that's when the judge stopped it at that point, because they only found nine errors in that 1,000 total of 626 votes. Now this is the typical judicial slow roll. So basically, at 100, she could make the argument that it was 3%, and Arizona was so close, then that could throw the election. If it was 100, made bigger. But because of this, the judge, doing his fake math of 0.37 to 0.55 of 1%, said it wasn't enough, and the Arizona Supreme Court threw that out, upheld that judge, and that's how they're slow rolling some of this case. Now, as we know, that's indicative about how they're going to try and knock some of these cases out. So Nevada was also dismissed, and Pennsylvania was dismissed by the Supreme Court. Now, that of all of them is the most egregious in my mind, because basically, when you have Supreme Court Justice Alito tell them, now you could have done an order, but both sides agreed that they were going to do it this way to take these, because the Russians had changed the election law in Pennsylvania. We're playing hanky-panky with election law. Both parties, both the Trump Republicans and the Russians, had made an agreement that they have agreed to abide by, to take a set of these ballots, the ones that were going to be counted after the election, thanks to the change in the Russian rules. They were going to be counted and taken, corded off, and counted later. Well, that agreement / memo was trampled all over by the Russians again. And when they did that, Alito brings that forward, plus all the other problems in the election. The Russians on the state Supreme Court changing election rules from the state secretary, the Secretary of State changing election rules right before, and that what she did with that, she told them all that they could cure election ballots. There's never been against the state constitution and the secrecy provision of the state constitution, allowing counties to cure if there was a problem in an election with one of the mail-in ballots, to call the person and tell them to cure it, to come in to vote it, which she did the day before. So there's unbelievable. Now, and these aren't like they were in the Arizona case, like factual disputes. These are actual law violations that all the facts are right there. And so when the Supreme Court kicked that out, that's not a good sign. Now the biggest one though this week was the Texas case, and I want to get a hold of that lawyer because that guy was a genius. But basically, Texas sued on the idea of Bush versus Gore due process violation. Equal protection violation, in that some of the votes, some of the states were following the laws, meaning like Texas and the 17 states that went along with Texas, and some of the states meaning mainly the they named 4 battleground states, but the 5 battleground states were not following the law. And so that they're saying that in Texas, that the Texas a voter was being disenfranchised compared to the because they were following the law in Texas, whereas they weren't following the laws in these other states. Right. And of course they cite Pennsylvania, a U.S. Supreme Court precedent for that against mail-in balloting. So I think it was 1973 case. So all this nonsense about how the Supreme Court doesn't want to interfere in the politics and political decisions is complete nonsense, of course. A complete lie told by the left and the Russian paymasters, and it's for good reason. And it's completely ridiculous because the Supreme Court has never had a problem interfering in politics. They literally redraw the congressional districts. You can't have anything more interfering in politics. They redraw the entire the political segments of states.
Everything, John. They interfere with everything. Education. They interfere with
right.
Politics. Finances.
That's just a lie told by the state. Now it brings up. I'm going to get to the second part of this is how the battle goes on, but just take a stop for a second because that does bring up a good question. Like, what do? You have this unelected bureaucrats who assert that they have all power over everybody. That we have this is an oligarchy, a judicial oligarchy, and they get to have the last word. And yet they in a case like this Texas case, where they have original jurisdiction, meaning the only thing they really have to do in cases like this
is what they're
right? When you have a case where you have a state versus another state, they have to take it up. It's their job. They go, oh no, we don't want to do it. So you imagine if you were able to say that when you go to work every day.
If I took this pen, which is meant to write, and I used to pick my nose.
Well, no. It's as if you went to work, say, well, I'm not going to do my job today.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
that's what it is. It's like, well, I wish I had the ability to do that. So it just goes to show is how we do need to reform the Supreme Court. These people need, including Amy and company, anybody without the guts to take this case need to be moved off the court. Bye-bye.
If I can just say, remember, we talked about this a while ago, and I said to you that they've never been tested. They don't know what it is to be under that kind of scrutiny. They don't understand what it is to feel the pressure of having your life turn to crap.
They live in the dope utopia.
That's why
they can make decisions to kill babies, to take our rights away, to have us micromanaged every day of our lives.
It's like,
and to this though, the reason why they don't want to do is, we don't be shunned by the elites in Washington.
They've never been tested, John. It's like Rocky said, the great philosopher Rocky Balboa. Life will beat you to your knees and keep you there if you let it. These guys have never they've never been beaten to their knees. They've never had to climb back up.
They are literally the Brahmins. They are the Indian caste system.
Yep.
The judicial caste.
They're the top
and
of
that's
the
why it's always been a mistake to look at the Supreme Court as it was going to be
some great savior. It's not.
But the battle goes on.
You know who the savior is? Jesus.
That's
Pass the test, right?
Right. I played you through that in there. Who's your co-pilot?
Jesus.
Wrong. You're his co-pilot. He's God. All right. So the battle goes on.
Sometimes he lets me drive. Sometimes he carries me.
Right. So Giuliani is what they're going to do is they're moving to the battle. The legal battle goes on though. They're moving to go into the battleground states as Trump in his person they're not going as a political party, but so he has complete standing in his personal capacity as Donald J. Trump. Being hurt by what's been going on in these elections. He's suing in each one of these states. For example, and in Georgia, when we brought up some of the it's on the in his personal capacity, the lawsuit's going for the fact that like there's 2,500 felons, 66,000 underage voted, 4,900 with a different state address. And remember when we talked about how there were 30 rejections in the whole state?
Yeah.
Well, the historic rejection rate should have had around 38,000 to 45,000, and of course the margin was 12,600. So if there was any
plus there's an increased number of votes.
Right.
I mean the numbers
right
dramatically higher.
Well, that's the those are those are uncontroverted facts that they have to address. Now, were they going to have the guts to do it? We'll see. The ultimate Hail Mary is not the Hail Mary, but that Mo Brooks came out, and Mo Brooks is one of the Congress. I'm very proud of him. About 126 members of Congress came out and joined in the Texas suit, led by Mo Brooks, who makes a great line. I'd have to put up, but I don't know how to do that crap. Who puts it up there? Congress is the ultimate arbitrator of who wins presidential contest, not the Supreme Court. American founders didn't want unelected dictatorial judges making those decisions. The judiciary isn't equipped or empowered to decide contested federal elections. And then now we're talking about Jesus. So before this, I would have said this idiot Bob O. Thomas said afterwards, but I'm not going to say that now because just mentioned Jesus. Wrong again, Mo. The voter is the ultimate arbiter. And you would have to betray them. Check your oath, man. Or some kind of nonsense like that. Problem with that is, well, we know it was the Russians who are betraying us, and the Russians not following their oath. Right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right?
I would say I
Right.
agree with that.
Good old Bob O. Thomas, who I would call an idiot before you mentioned Jesus, but now I'm not.
I don't think
that's who it is.
Yeah, I think Jesus agrees with you.
So how it could work is that and he's right about that. All you need is good old Mo Brooks and Ted Cruz, and if he does it, I am completely on the Ted Cruz bandwagon back again. To stand up and say we're going to challenge when Arizona's vote comes around. Boom, we're going to challenge it on January 6th, and we're going to say it was now. Let me bring it back all around for a second. This is the slow roll of the judiciary. This is why you can never trust judges in a lot of ways, because here they go. Okay, well, so they say because they hit a number they like 1,626 and with only 9 errors, that's when they stop. Whoa, the fact that there are any errors means it should all be looked at. And why can't we all look at it? What we need is transparency. How come we can't look at the Russians' votes in this? Where is the transparency? It's supposed to be an American election. How come it's not 1,000% transparent and on the internet so everybody can check
It
it?
comes back to why are one half of the population not caring about it? Why do they not care about elections being secure? Obviously, there's a problem.
Well, that's the other thing too. We should be getting into. For all our friends who are so proud that Donald Trump might not be the president over the next 4 years.
The rhinos.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. On the other side. So wait a minute. Isn't this exactly what happened to good old Bernie? Isn't this? So why do you think your guy's going to ever win your election?
It's funny you should say that, bro.
You think Kamala is on your side?
That's connected to my China.
No, they're just on their own side.
My China Cup.
They're just on their own side, right? Because as we know, the Russians interfered in this election, and we have to get to the bottom of it.
Yes.
And that was our Russian election update.
All right. All right. So we're gonna go to
screw you, YouTube.
Yeah, I'll start off and I'll end with our video that we have to show. But I'll start off in this mode. We have, speaking of actually it's so hard to start. I do need to switch over. Sorry. Let me start off by, this isn't the video we're going to show, it's this one right here.
And China's been paying huge sums to the LA Times and other papers to put these sections in them. For instance, in the LA Times, they have a story about organs, about how more and more Chinese people are lining up to donate organs. Well, really what that is, which you read between the lines, is essentially that all of these organs are available in China because they come from willing donors. But there is substantial evidence, growing evidence, that defenseless people are being killed for their organs. And so we got to realize that this is not just some sort of laughable propaganda put into the LA Times. this really is promoting insidious narratives.
So this is that's just an excerpt from the American Thought.
Who is that?
He's Gordon Chang.
Yeah.
Gordon Chang. He's a very you know Gordon.
Yeah, give him all time.
Yeah, he's very solid on China. He's very knowledgeable on China, and pretty much what I'm going to tell you is a lot of what he talked about with my own take on it. So I mean, you could spend the 40 minutes watching him, or the 10 minutes, and I'm going to tell you about what he said.
15. Got it. Go.
Right. So one of the things that you haven't heard about, and it's connected to the contents that he just mentioned about the organ donations and about the LA Times getting large sums of money from the Chi-Coms, is that were 174,000, and this skullduggery from this election. 174,000 Twitter accounts were removed in June of last year. They were all connected to the Chinese government. You didn't hear about that though, did you?
Yeah.
174,000. So also there's another part of that skullduggery that the social media platforms are doing in order to make the Russian interference work better. And what I mean by that, to be simply put, is this information was covered up. Also, there's real evidence of the Chinese government, the Chi-Coms, using a lot of bots and using other kinds of technical hardware or software to zero in on certain groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and showing them how to protest, how to make things happen through their platform TikTok. So there's clear evidence that is presented that Gordon talks about, that says that this is what the Chinese government was doing. In fact, it was a consulate job. One of their consulates had a duty of targeting Americans who would be willing to go out and act as Antifa and as Black Lives Matter and other types of disruptive behavior. And this also plays into what has been being said by some special ops guys, is this is part of a color revolution, which is that they're trying to make so much disruption to break down the system. And we can go into more on that in future episodes. But getting back to China, this all circles around some simple things that if you hear phrases and you think they mean something, but they mean a lot more. So the Chinese government has a belief, and it has had this belief for thousands of years. This is something ingrained in the culture. This is ingrained in the culture more deeply than as deeply as individualism has been ingrained in the American culture. So the idea of the mandate of heaven is that everything under the heaven, first of all, it talks about the cycle of the emperors, the process. The emperors start at the beginning. They're very strong. They're very well liked, and as time goes by, they start to fail. And then there's a lot of things that happen that says to the people, revolt and kick them out, and then the mandate of heaven starts over again. But the other side of the mandate of heaven says clearly that everything under the heavens is in fact Chinese. It's owned and controlled by China. That's America. That's the South China Sea. That's South America, all the continents, Antarctica, and including the moon. All of it is under the heavens, and that we should all be subject to the Chinese. So, and that means that when they do their South China Sea model, which is to start off by saying, we're not doing anything bad here. We're not going to build anything on these structures. We're just making little islands, and then so they build the islands, and then all of a sudden there's a military base on it. And so it's done, and you can't do anything about it. And then they we're not going to use it as a military base. We're just going to use it as a supply base, and for our researchers, and other researchers will be able to come. Then all of a sudden, it's got anti-missile systems on it. It's got 1,000 troops. It's got all kinds of airfield put in there for the planes, and then all of a sudden in the South China Sea we have little islands that are Chinese controlled, and they want to control the South China Sea. They're doing the same thing when it comes to places like India. They're invading They're invading the Ladakh land, which is a border region of China and India. They're taking over Bhutan. They're trying to take over. I think it's not Laos. It's Thailand. They've invaded Thailand, Burma, and they're doing these. These are also, I think, Gordon. I don't think Gordon mentioned this. I think this is all testing the water. You and I talked about this earlier when they launched a missile to destroy a satellite back in 2007, and they did it. They didn't tell anybody. It was just a kind of like, let's test the waters, and then they acted like it never happened. But meanwhile, they destroyed a satellite in space, and they were sending a message to everybody. I think they're testing the water and sending a message to everybody, like the Chicon virus. It's meant to send a warning to the U.S. and to the world. It's meant to test the waters to see what the international response will be, and also, just saying, we're here. You're all underneath our control. So all that ties together to what I'm going to. There's two things. Let me tell you about what Kissinger said, because he mentions this very well. Kissinger, and you guys all know who Kissinger is, or you should. He's one of these so-called experts on China and so-called experts on international diplomacy, and he completely misses the boat on this. He says that the West should not do anything. In essence, he says we should give up to China. We should not do anything to China, because if we do, we're going to go to war. So just let them roll us over, and we should do anything. And he says that those are the only two options: either give China what it wants, or go to war. And he forgets, and Gordon mentions this quite clearly, he forgets the middle road, which was what we used against the Soviets very effectively. I mean, the Soviet Union is not around anymore. Proof positive in the plan of containment, and also making sure that the Russians couldn't control any parts. If they went into Vietnam, we went in there too. If they reinforced somebody, we reinforced the other side. It started in Greece when they started trying to take over Greece. We sent in special forces, which we didn't technically have special forces, but we spent in special operators to go in there and support the Greeks against the Chinese communists. And this is what we did. This is our containment policy. So Kissinger saying we should just roll over and die, and let the Chinese do whatever they want, is exactly what the Chinese want. No surprise, though, brother. He's been accepting money from the Chinese.
That's the secret, right?
Yeah, he's actually been kicked off. He's also lost his clearances because he's been on. Guess which campaign he's been working for, John?
The Russians.
I meant the political campaign, which is the Russians. Yeah. Go. So the last thing I want to mention are two last things. Is the DNA. So we know that the Chinese purposely released the Chicon virus. We know they purposely did it. At this point, the Winnie the Pooh, when he realized that it was hitting China, he needed to make sure the rest of the world got it. That's why he kept his mouth shut.
Release it. You may, when they lock down internal movement in China, but let them all leave to go out and spread the infection.
I'm saying he encouraged them. I'm saying he encouraged people to leave. He encouraged to send this out, and then he applied the whole misinformation campaign, blaming every other country in the world as the origin source, including us.
Yeah.
And saying stuff had been sent on the frozen. The COVID was on the frozen vegetables that was sent into the country. Yeah. Trying to, every single stupid little thing they could say to muddy the waters, including getting the WHO to support them and all that. So that being said, that the Chinese have been very, very strongly gathering DNA around the people of people around the world, including buying up very large companies that give and support, subsidizing them. So they encourage you to go buy a DNA test, and then they send it in to this company, which I don't want to accuse any of these companies of doing it. And then all of a sudden now they have your DNA. So because you send it into this company and they own that company, they have access to that DNA. And so what I'm getting to is when what they did with the China virus, it was a test run because they also want to gather information, and this was just released last week. They said that the China is suggesting to the UN that we have a international QR code for people. So you would have a QR code, I would have a QR code, and then that way, if we traveled, we would know if you had the virus because it'd have all your health information, and it'd have all that information, including your DNA, and then all that information would then be managed by a company or a database. All that would be kept in a database, an international database, which of course, the moment it's put online, guess what? The Chinese own it because they're going to hack it, because that's what they do. We have proof that they've attacked Aetna. They've got a whole bunch of DNA information from the medical insurance group Aetna and a couple others out there. They've done it for all over. They're well known to hack into everything like that. And once they have that DNA information, guess what? They can make viruses that can kill Americans, certain types of blood types, certain people with whatever it can be, your eye color. They can target certain parts of humanity, and they're making sure that everyone in their countries is locked tight. No one can get it. So there's a very big possibility of the Chinese having a eugenics war against us.
So you can bring this all around now.
Now,
part of eugenic birth, they also believe in the Hitlerian almost.
Well,
they are the perfect people.
And this gets back to what Gordon opened up with, which was, of course, where they have the Uyghurs and all the other political prisoners, the Muslims, and they're harvesting them for organs. And that is now an established fact that because China, I can't remember the name, but they've done an entire investigation into it, and they've uncovered a lot of facts to prove that China is in fact organ harvesting these political prisoners, and they're not willing. And it all is being. And if you look at the LA Times and other news organizations, so-called corporate media in the United States, so-called news organizations, corporate media in the United States are in fact accepting dollars from the Chinese and then presenting material out as if it's editorial or really legit news, when in fact it's more propaganda of the Chi-Coms. That's all it is.
James, are you saying that the Chinese are the Russians?
I'm saying that the Chinese are worse than the Russians.
The Chinese own the Russians in this last election.
I'm saying
the Chinese are the ones who
more
own the
importantly,
election.
John, the Chinese also own some Congress people.
No.
And this is my last piece of my segment.
A story with all the salacious elements: power, sex, international intrigue. California Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell insists he has done nothing wrong and he's cooperating with authorities about his relationship with a woman accused of being
Smallwell.
Micro-well.
John, you know he had a Smallwell?
Micro-well. He had a micro-well.
You got a Smallwell. See, there's his thumb right there.
Yeah. For 4 years, huh? For 4 years.
So they actually, Brett Baer, who is, I thought always he was a solid. He was pretty solid. He gave Obama a very tough interview, so much that they called him the interrupter, because he kept on interrupting Obama. But I think he's a pretty fair guy, and he's a real guy. But he mentions that he makes the point that Smallwell here got a briefing from the FBI back in 2015, and when it was found out that his Fang, which that's not how you say it in the Chinese, but it's actually spelled Fang, and then Fang is her code name. So Fang, apparently she's got a bigger fang than he does.
Micro-well.
Smallwell.
Micro.
Yeah. So he's
Micro.
Well, what you call it? Said it. The president's lawyer. I forget. Jenna.
Yeah.
Anyway, so 2015, he got a briefing from the FBI saying, "Hey, just so you know, there's somebody that you're associated with that is a Chinese operative, Chinese spy, and is possibly using you to pump information to get close to you, and has done it to other people, and we know that this has happened. Now, the point that Brett Baer makes is in 2016, when the Russians were supposedly, the whole Russian thing was going on.
We're going to have to clarify it. Russians,
Yes.
and Russians.
I'm
Russians
sorry,
for
brother.
Russia.
I'm sorry. I think
And Russians.
I think if we take the Russians as the Soviets and the Marxists that they are,
Right.
they kind of all flow
Right,
together.
you're right. So it's Russian. You're right.
So anyway, when the 2016, when the Trump campaign was, there was suspicion of Trump, Russian involvement, Marxist involvement. We'll call Marxist. Let's call Marxist. Marxist involvement. What did the FBI do? The FBI then attempted to place an inside source within the campaign, and then proceeded to tap and use that information, use the information that they had of a possible source to tap every single phone that they could and listen to every single conversation they could, a la Richard Nixon in the Watergate tapes. So, and the Watergate, the Watergate stuff, investigation. So, that was, you see this different approach, John, different approach. When it's a Swalwell and his party, his fellow Marxists, the FBI comes to their defense. And then when it's
General Flynn,
an American who stood up to the Obama administration and said, whoa, they're your policies, and says it out loud for everyone to hear it in a congressional open hearing. Says, whoa, your policies are bad for America and bad for our troops. When that happens, that guy's we got to get rid of that guy. Got to get rid of him. Got to go after him.
Now this is actually
he's un-American. Swalwell is not un-American.
Now this has really put together for me something that was in my mind. I just could not figure out for like a long time. Although, I mean, he was for a 4-year relationship. She wasn't there because he's such a good looking or smart guy, because he's not, or that he is particularly useful, I guess. So for 4 years,
useful with
he gave up a lot of information in that 4 years, because the spies are just like anybody else. They got quotas, they got bosses, right? So
you better
but
perform.
I've always wondered,
even if he
about this.
can't, you better.
I could never figure out when the 2016 happened. This and Pencil Neck, Jerky Jerk, and Nancy Pelosi, and the constant harping about actual Russians. It never made any sense to me, because there's been no party that has been more pro-Russian than Nancy Pelosi's party. From 100 years, they've been selling out this country to the Russians, the real Russians, for over 100 years. Whether covering up for a good old Stalin and the Russian system, to bad mouthing us and saying how bad America was compared to them. So I could never figure out why all of a sudden, Nancy Pelosi and company and little Pencil Neck were screaming about Russians. And here, the reason why is because they're all in the pay of the Chinese Russians. And that is that's the fundamental. That's why they gave up. Because you think about it, even if you were against the Russians, only the impeachment was about the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are doing everything they can to fight the Russians. The actual Russians, they're doing everything they can. So you would think that they would be like on board with like cleaning up the corruption in Ukraine, because the corruption in Ukraine is all derived from the Russian interference in Ukraine and the Ukrainian elections and the attempt to subvert and take over, as it's been over through the last several elections in Ukraine. So why would these creeps come up so hard, bad mouthing about the Russians? And of course the answer is because they're in the pay of the paymasters of the Chinese paymasters. So it makes perfect sense.
I have a question for you, Bill.
What?
I know Fang like Swalwell, so I was wondering if she introduced him to Little Dick Durbin, and
That's his name. That was his name.
I didn't even come up with that name.
That was his name.
I'm borrowing that from somebody
That's
else.
his real name.
That's his real name. Or a pencil thin Schiff.
Right.
A little Schiff.
Right. Little Schiff.
Little Schiff. So
maybe
I wonder if she introduced him.
Maybe that's the connection between them all. It's not the Russians. Maybe it's not that we're just misreading it. It's not the Russians. It's something else. They're in a club.
Yeah, maybe. They are in a club. And we're not in it. Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
All right. So we move on to the next one.
Let's switch scenes here, brother.
Okay, this is the American suicide essay.
Uh-oh.
Are we
I
in
didn't
American
study for this.
suicide for with what's been going on in this last election? You know, because there seems to be a lot of people that are not on board with the American First agenda, right? I mean, as our champion, the anointed one, Donald Trump has come out and said, "Who would have a problem with America First? What not? What maniac?" Right?
Yeah.
So it does bring up a question. And there was a and I'll start. Let me backtrack for a second. Let me start. You can't do better spending time than watching a man by the name of Bishop Cheney. He's in black and white and some color. He was on NBC TV against Milton Berle at 8 o'clock. That's what the American culture used to have. You used to have a Catholic bishop stand up there for half an hour, tell some jokes, and give you the best theological Vulcan mind meld of Catholicism and Americanism that's ever been. And he did it against Milton Berle and Sinatra and beat them both in the ratings. And that went on for years. And you can still see it on various platforms like YouTube, or buy it and listen to it. His name is Bishop Sheen. But in Bishop Sheen, one of the things he would do, you have a little blackboard and he had a stick, was an amazing speaker. And he would always start with his blackboard. He put at the very top of it, JMJ. Now he's a bishop. Can you figure out who JMJ is? There you go. Good job. You get that. Good job.
Pass that one.
You got that one. So and he did it so that it reminded him what he was about. And that's important, because then he would, that at top of his blackboard kept him grounded and centered. And the point is this. So on Rush's show, he brought up I gave a shout out to the guy, Lou Aguirre, who writes for the American Spectator, did a great article you can read for the Fox News media suicide, detailing how Fox Media has completely been subverted.
Rush talked about
and completely subverted and has committed suicide over the election cycle, meaning to the point where now the ratings are in the tank. Newsmax is taking up a one American news network. Ballistic Patriot, they're filling in the gap.
We've seen a very large uptick, John.
And Donald Trump is pointing out, you killed the golden goose. You put that idiot Chris Wallace and that hack, Donna Brazil, along with Juan Williams. These are a bunch of creeps. And then they and all the things that they did, they have completely tanked. Now they still have Tucker and John and Laura, but still, and Lou Dobb. But they completely tanked over the suicide they committed. So how does this agency that began, this news agency that began, with the idea that they were going to at least have fair and balanced news, all of a sudden collapse? And he brings up a John O'Sullivan quote from way back. And John O'Sullivan I remember that, we've been thinking about it because it sparked us 10, 15, 20 years ago. It sparked us on our Utopia thing. And the quote was something, was this. From John O'Sullivan. John O'Sullivan was a Maggie Thatcher speechwriter, and one of the things he came up with was because after Maggie Thatcher, what happened to the English Conservative Party? And you have people who show up to pretend to be conservative, and they were never conservative. And so he came up with this quote to explain the process. He said, all entities that are not explicitly conservative will become left-wing over time.
Right.
Now, I bring it up because I'm going to go back to good old Bishop Sheen, and it's bigger than that. It's bigger than O'Sullivan's called. So we're going to call them Baldini's Laws of History. Okay, and these are
I like it already.
You like it already,
I
right?
like it already.
Right. So it goes, and these are some of them, right? It goes, all people that are not explicitly thinking of God will fall into sin. And then there's some corollaries or derivatives from that. All entities that are not biblically based will I can't read my own writing. Will acquiesce. I can't spell that word. I can't read it. To baser impulses over time, and that's if you go to an army. That's why when we saw General Flynn starting with a prayer, that's why that's important for armies. That's in schools. That's why when we see the idiot Supreme Court take prayer out of schools, there you go with schools. And for political organizations, Look at the idiot Russian party when they were moving of God from their platform.
Yep.
Right. And now there's another derivative. All cultures not explicitly godly based fall over time. So that's the diagnosis of our current crisis. The question is, what's the prescription? What is the prescription? That's the diagnosis. Is that when you remove God from the family, from the marriage, from the school, from the public square, from the daily, from your daily life, and from the institution. And there was a great from businesses, from our corporation. There's a great the last remaining industrial manufacturer in Philadelphia used to remanufacture alternators, and before he had to leave. And what he would do is he'd have half an hour a day where they would have prayer, and that's the basis of American culture. And so that's the diagnosis and the prescription. Well, the prescription is this. So is this a suicide? Now we've been fighting it for a while. This is what we call the dopiatopia, the divorce from reality. In the cities, and the further you get from reality, the further you get from God. Because anybody who is based in reality has to deal with the man-killing nature of our existence gets very God-centered. And so the dopiatopias, where you have people who do everything for them, they cook for you, they drive for you, they think for you. They're in a little dopiatopian bubble. That's our whole theme. The further they get from reality, the further they get from God, and then you get perversion, and you get the descent from truth. And from when you have this descent from truth, you have what you see in the streets today. And it's not that the Antifa and Black Lives Matters and AOCs and stuff aren't I mean, they're fundamentally wrong, but it's not that they're not have their finger on that there's a problem. Bernie, that there's a problem. It's just that solution, their evil Marxist solution, is the wrong solution. There is a problem, but the prescription is what it's always been for America. There is a direct correlation between freedom and religion. America is the most religious country in the world because we're the freest country in the world. And there's another correlation and that's why we're the most powerful country in the world. So those things are all directly related: freedom, religion, and power. And it's God's little if you can figure out the laws of the universe, it's God's little way of him talking to us. Hey, it's not a coincidence. The freest people in the world, or the most religious people in the world, are the strongest people in the world.
That's right. And
so it's not a suicide. It's not the American suicide. This election. It's a wake up call. Even God's chosen people, the Israelis, had to get wake up call after wake up call after wake up call. So the answer is JMJ.
Jesus, Mary, Joseph.
There you go. You got it.
So,
it's a good altar boy. He's a good altar boy.
I was. It was a good altar
all the way up to like 12 or 19.
I was there until my first year in college, actually.
Right. That's good. That's good. Good boy. Yeah. Good boy. Mom's proud.
Yeah. So all right, brother. That's it for our show. And remember, everybody, watch out for Swalwells.
We just did JMJ.
Doesn't matter. I'm sure JMJ is saying Swalwell.
We'll say a few, and we're all
good.
That's why we're Catholics, right?
That's right. That's right.
We're just going to take the priest.
Of course, I still have doubt, and don't forget. I mean, this is not a topic, but
you have doubt.
I have doubt about our Pope. I mean, he's not. I'm
again not another organization, Baldini's Law, right? Not dedicated every day, and that's what you'll get. Even that will fall.
Dedicated.
Apparently not. You should read the book a little bit more and stop reading the Communist Manifesto. But
on that note,
yeah.
All right, brother. We'll let the critics decide.
We want to remind the audience to please not talk out loud. Please do not applaud. You're just wasting time.
Aye, aye. Admiral Butthead.
So don't mess with me.
I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
I pray for the president all the time.
Ugh, back to the lock with you, Nessie.
I've now been in 57
He's
states.
what we designate as the crummy moronic
You
type.
didn't crawl out from under no rocks. You didn't have no tails. We didn't come from monkeys. You ate the stick pinko meat.
Donald Trump no longer has the capacity to break my heart.
I'm not pissed.